Hey everyone, it's Silver Seeker, and today I want to talk to you about fractional gold and silver. And specifically, I want to talk to you about fractional gold and silver in a worst case scenario. Now, of course, that worst case scenario is this thing right here. Let's imagine just for a second, and keep in mind, this is not a doomsday channel. This is not an end of world channel. I don't go around fearing people into believing that the silver or that the dollar itself is going to collapse into oblivion, because I don't believe it's probably going to as well. Are we going to go through inflation? Are we currently going through inflation? Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that. But there's a lot more going on with the U.S. The U.S. has a much more robust economy than, say, somewhere like Venezuela or Zimbabwe that experienced insane hyperinflation and their currency just basically went to wash. So, but let's pretend just for a second that it actually does happen. Because even though I don't believe it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen, you can't say for 100% certainty that it won't, because it certainly could. I mean, a fiat dollar is just that. It's just a dollar that's backed by nothing, that's backed in people's belief that it has value because the government says that it does and because we believe that it does. When we stop believing that it does, this happens. Your $100 bill becomes worth $1 or maybe even less. But again, let's just pretend that it does, even though I don't think it will. Let's just pretend that it does and the dollar collapses. We want to look at what this stuff is going to do for us, because a lot of stackers look at, silver and gold as something that's going to be used as barter in an end of world worst case scenario. Everything blows up, the dollar goes to nothing, and we're literally trading stuff. And there are stackers out there that believe that this is not going to happen. They believe that there's no way that silver and gold are ever going to be used as trade and barter. In fact, I can give you a recent example of people that believe that based on a video that was put out by a gentleman named Mark Dice, where he actually went around to people in California right outside of a coin shop and tried to trade them his 1 ounce gold maple leaf for something that they had in their hand or a hat that they had on. And he could not get anyone to take him up on that. Now, I'm sure that in that video, it was very heavily edited, and he probably had 1 or 2 people say sure, and then he's like, oh, well, I'm just kidding or something. But the fact is even if he cut out 66% of people and only kept the 33% that had no idea what it was worth and was not willing to trade their, soda that was in their hand for the 1 ounce gold maple, even if that is the case, that still shows that there are people out there that have no idea what is going on. And so that is an argument that's used to say, look, if we ever get into an end of world situation, if we ever get into that worst case scenario, this is never going to be used as barter, and I believe that's wrong. And there's perfect examples of that. In fact, going to Venezuela, there was even an article posted on Bloomberg, which I'll throw up a picture of on the screen, that shows them actually using pieces of gold in trade for shelter, for meals, etc. Yes, gold and silver in other countries that have went through hyperinflation, where their dollar completely collapsed into nothing, does use gold and silver for barter. A silver quarter or maybe a silver $50 or so will get you a night in one of the best hotels in Venezuela. So you can't tell me that this isn't going to be used. Now, keep in mind, yes, there are a lot of people that don't know what this is worth. And so the argument stands that how are people going to use gold and silver in trade if they don't know what it's worth? But remember that, the mother of invention is necessity, right? Well, necessity is also the mother of adaptation. The reason that people don't know what gold and silver is worth is because they have never needed to. In the US, you have never needed to know, at least in my entire lifetime, you have never actually needed to know for daily life the value of gold and silver. And that's because we do, in fact, have a dollar that is a world's reserve currency that maintains value, because many countries in the world actually believe in this. Even if you're not in the US, there are many countries, like I said, that believe in the US dollar and use the US dollar over their own country's money. So in the US, we have never needed to know what this is worth. But like I said, necessity, the mother of all invention, right? We get to a situation where no one really wants this. Let's say that person that's walking around in California with the latte in her hand, the Starbucks no longer wants these because they aren't worth anything. What are they going to accept? Of course, they're going to accept something fungible that has intrinsic value that has been used for thousands and thousands of years. Now, I understand that in that situation, there's probably not going to be Starbucks that are open because the world's going to be in chaos. I mean, Starbucks, if our dollar collapses to zero, Starbucks isn't opening the next day, okay? I'm just being honest with you. McDonald's probably not opening the next day. So there are going to be other things that are valued higher than silver, especially in those first few months afterwards. For example, food, water, shelter, guns and ammo, all that stuff is going to be valued way higher than silver. But eventually, once things calm down and we start to try and function normally, we start to have to, let's say we start to run out of things, and we need to start finding those things. We need to start bartering for those things. We are going to need something as a medium of exchange, and gold and silver have been that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's that simple. So yes, of course, there are people that have no idea in the US right now what gold and silver is worth, but when they have to know, they will find out really quick. But again, this is not a doomsday channel. This is not an end of world scenario channel. I don't believe for a second that we're actually going to get to that point in my lifetime, but I could be wrong. So, it's always a good idea to have, some of this stuff on hand, along with all the other things that I mentioned. It's very important to have both of those because, yes, while gold and silver will have value, especially in a situation where that happens in those first few months, there will be things that have much greater value than gold and silver. For example, like I said, food, water, shelter, and of course, protection. So guns, ammo, etc. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that don't know what gold and silver is worth. They don't, and they've never needed to. And hopefully they don't ever need to. That would be my hope, at least. Listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a favor. Don't forget to go down below, like and subscribe. And I really appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for being subscribed to the channel, and we will see you next time.